What up, everybody? Listen, I got a random video. I just want to pull the phone out and film this because it was inspired, and I think it's going to benefit the young men out there greatly, and even adults, right? If you're a grown man in your 30s or 40s and even 50s, if you haven't learned this lesson, this is very important for you to learn. And it is the ego is not your amigo. Now, shortly put, it is that, listen, man, you got to learn how to become more stoic in situations and learn how to think 10 steps ahead, because I'm telling you right now, bro, I've been in situations myself that I didn't have to necessarily be in because I didn't practice what I just told you. I was not thinking 10 steps ahead. I reacted instead of responded, and I reacted out of anger, and I got in fights, and I did things that I didn't have to do, that was unnecessary, and it got me in a lot of trouble. And I also know personal stories of friends and family have done the same thing. The example that's probably the most prominent in my personal life is my dad, right? My dad is probably the greatest example of the ego not being your amigo, right? And let me explain why. So most of you guys, if you've been following us or been subscribed to us for long enough, you know my story about my dad being in prison for 24 years, right? So this is the best example I can give you about somebody literally throwing decades of their life away from making a decision based off of ego. Let me tell you. So the best way I can put it, man, but while trying to be respectful to my dad and, honor him because he's my dad at the end of the day, no matter what, is that my dad used to commit a lot of crime, right? He was a criminal. This is the easier way to say it, right? He was selling drugs, he would be robbing people and just doing things he wasn't supposed to be doing, right? He made a lot of money, but it was street money. It wasn't clean money. And, he'd been in trouble and with the law a couple times, been arrested, been to jail, whatever. He had a career, committing crimes, right? Unfortunately. So my mom and him were together. He and my mom were together, and he's like, hey, I want a son. I want a boy so bad. I want to raise a son, a mini me, right? And my mom says, okay, well, if we're going to do that, if we're going to have a son, then I need you to give up the street life. So he says, yeah, no problem. That's easy. Like, easy decision, right? I'm going to give up the street life. No worries, right? So he stops going on missions. He stops selling drugs, whatever. He actually gets a job at Mount Sac College. I think he's like a counselor or something like that. So he goes from making $3,000 a week selling drugs and doing whatever else he was doing to $1,200 a month, right? So he's now making far less money than he's used to. So there's ego hit number one, right? He used to be making the money. He was the man. He was the breadwinner. He was crushing it. And now he feels like, man, like a lot of men, we get caught up. Our identity is caught up with how much money we make sometimes. Some people say that's sad. Some people say that's just being realistic because we're men and we need to provide. And so when we feel like we're not providing in the way that we'd like to, or even the providing in the way that we are used to, then we feel like less of a man because of that. So my dad was definitely feeling some of that anyways. So he's feeling that pressure a little bit, and he and my mom get in an argument one night. My dad's on the phone and my mom is pissed. She's like, man, listen, you can't be on the phone all day like that. You can't be running up the phone bill and, spending all this money we just got it like that. So my dad's offended. He's like, we can have it like that. If you want to have it like that, it's no problem. I can go get some money. We can have it like that if you want to go back to that. No worries, right? So my mom obviously knew what that meant. She knew that he meant he's about to go do something illegal and get some money. Like, yeah, he can get some money. He's right. But how is he going to get that money? And she already knew. So that triggered her. And she says, oh. So by the way, my dad had a street friend named Bumpy. I don't know the dude's real name, but his street name was Bumpy, right? So she knew that he and Bumpy used to run these streets and run missions and do this and that, whatever, and slang together and, do whatever, right? So she already knew he was going to hit Bumpy up, likely, to run some kind of mission and get some money. She says, oh, you going to hit up Bumpy? You going to be Bumpy's little bitch and hit him up again and try and get some money? Okay. Now, I don't know about y'all, but me, if my wife calls me a bitch, I ain't gonna lie, man. All the self-development, all the personal development, all the things I teach you guys, and don't let the ego hit you, whatever. My wife called me that. Listen, man, I'm not gonna like it. I'm not gonna be very fond of that. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? So that was ego hit number 2. So my dad goes, okay. He leaves, right? And they go set up this elaborate plan, right, to go bust a mission. It's supposed to be a robbery. They're gonna rob this nice house, some mansion or whatever. He gets 5 or 6 of his homies. They get together, they get this elaborate plan together, whatever. They go into this house and they're gonna go get some money. They're stealing jewelry and money and all that, whatever else they're taking. And one of my dad's partners, he yells, they're in the house. They're in the house. They thought the house was empty. I don't know if they thought the people were on vacation or if they were just at work or whatever the hell was that. But people were in the house. So they scatter like church mice. They run out, whatever, right? Now they're trying to get out. Now it's a much more heinous crime Because those of you who don't know, robbery is already bad. Yeah, that's not respectable. Any crime is not respectable, right? But that's already bad, robbing somebody, right? But when somebody is in the house, like the people that live there in the house, now that's called home invasion. And now you're putting their lives in danger because, the court knows if you're willing to go into someone's house and steal from them, you obviously don't value their livelihood. So now when they're in the house with you, you might hurt them. You might tie them up, make them hostages. So home invasion is a much more serious crime. So now my dad is dealing with the home invasion situation. They're all over the place running, right? So they scatter like church mice. Every person gets away except for who? Take a wild guess. Everyone except my dad. Everyone except my dad gets away, right? So boom. I'm almost like thinking like it's a setup, because when I hear this story as I get older, I'm like, how did everyone get away except for you, right? My dad was the only one who got caught. Now, doesn't matter though. He got caught. It was for a reason. So now let's fast forward to court, right? So the judge goes, hey, listen, man, you're not learning, bro. You already went to jail for this. You already got in trouble for that. Whoop-de-whoop. You're not learning. You're not listening. So boom, smacked the gavel down, gave him 31 years in prison. 31 years in prison. It's crazy. And like I said in the beginning, he served 24 years, so he got out on good behavior. So, I mean, shaved 7 years off that sentence. But damn, that was still 3 decades. Well, 2 decades, 2.5 decades almost, right? So you still spent half of your life in jail. He went in jail. Prison. He spent decades in prison, away from his family, missing birthdays, missing competitions, missed my wedding, missing the birth of my first daughter, high school graduation. The list goes on and on and on and on and on, right? The point is, man, is that the ego is not your amigo. He made that decision to go and get some money based off of ego. How he was feeling in that moment, feeling frustrated, feeling upset, feeling less of a man, whatever. I'm not in his head, but I'm just guessing as a man. I understand some of those feelings that we kind of all universally feel, especially if we feel like we're not doing our manly duties the way that we'd like to do them, right? So boom. And by the way, I was 10 months old at the time when that happened. So I'm not even a year yet. I'm not even a year old. I'm not even 1 year old yet. And he made that decision. Boom. Left for 24 years. Didn't get back until I was 25, right? So yeah, lesson learned, man. The ego is not your amigo. I'm trying to teach you guys something, man. Like, you got to get better at being stoic. You got to get better at thinking 10 steps ahead. You got to get better at imagining, okay, what could happen? Like, I'm not saying be a pessimist and everything in your life and be like, well, if things could, something really bad can happen and I could lose everything. If I make that investment, I could end up losing everything. If I want to, I don't know, open that business, I could risk everything and just the business could fail. I can go bankrupt. And dude, you can think about all kinds of different scenarios. But what I'm talking about is you need to make calculated risk, right? You got to take risk in life, but it's got to be calculated. Be smart. Now, especially when we're talking about anything criminal related or anything illegal, don't freaking do that at all. That's my message to you guys. Get better at thinking 10 steps ahead, man. Think about, could this get me in some kind of legal trouble? Could this affect my family? Could this remove me from my family? Could this affect my safety? Like, think about those kind of things, man. Think about that. Like, because sometimes the risk far outweighs the reward, and y'all not even taking that into consideration. You're just like, well, screw it, I'll be fine. It won't happen to me. It won't happen to me, bro. That's those statistics over there. It'll never happen to me. Nah, bro. It's gonna happen to you, dog. It's gonna happen to you. Be careful out there, man. Be smart. You know what I'm saying? That's my message for you guys today, man. I love you guys. I want to see you guys win. I want to see you guys kill it. Stay tuned for the next episode. Talk soon.